Welcome to Toast Time. I'm Cassandra, and this week I'm making cranberry eggnog bread. This is an absolute favorite around these parts, so much so it's one of the few things that I sell on my website because it is just so popular, so good. You can do so many things with it, toasting and just eating it how it is. There's a glaze. It's wonderful. You can also, I have mixed dried berries. So it's like cherries, blueberries, and cranberries. But I'm going to stick with the standard recipe that I always do and just do the cranberries for this time. It's pretty simple, actually. It's going to feel almost like a quick bread after some of the things that we've done throughout the year so far. Actually, I'll start with this. I have warm water. I'm going to put the yeast in it and let it just warm up a little bit. Let it wake up. I store my yeast in the freezer. So it takes it, I don't know, about a minute to wake up with the water or whatever liquid I have with it. I have some of the flour. I have the rest here. Some of it's already in here. And then everything except the cranberries and the other flour goes in. It's going to be some sugar, nutmeg, salt, eggnog, and I'm still loving my new apron, chocolate mousse. All right, and then let's see here. I'll grab a spoon to help me get this out of here. Yep, activated. All right, there's that. I'm gonna put it on the mixer for just a minute with the dough hook and let this come together, and then I'll add in a little bit more of the flour, a little at a time, until it comes to a very soft dough. We have to braid this, and we want it to hold its shape, but we also want it to be very soft and tender. After it goes for a minute as a dough, then we'll add in the cranberries and let that knead in. We don't want to mix this for too long. We're not trying to create a really dense crumb. We're really more trying to mix it together and just get the gluten a little activated. All right, just when it's time, add in all of the rest of the flour and the cranberries. This is the dough. So it's still very, very soft. It'll hydrate more when the flour, which means it'll actually get a little bit drier. Hydrating sounds different, but the flour will absorb more of the moisture as it sits. There we go. This is going to sit for only about 15 minutes, and then we're going to shape it. And then it does its prove after that. So I'm not going to put it in a different bowl. I'm just going to cover this one up and let it rest. And here we go. I've lightly floured my surface. I have some other flour here in case I need more, because this is pretty sticky. Take my dough out. And I'm going to get some flour on my hands, just a little bit. I don't want to over flour anything, the dough or my hands, anything like that, but it does help a lot in this situation. See, ta-da! Cut it in half. Then I'm going to cut each of these into thirds. Make it into kind of a rectangle, as much as I can. Rectangle. Two. One. This one aside. Start rolling this out. let it rest there. Get the other ones to that size to match it, and then can get all of them a little bit longer too. Set these over here, let them rest for a couple of minutes. And get these ones up to the same point. All right, move these up to here, and we'll go back to that first set. Flour this a little bit. Get them a little bit longer. Now, the next step I like to do on the baking tray because I don't like messing with it after I've gotten the design that I want. What I'm going to do is I'll put these on here. 1, 2, pretty close together. 3, and I'll bring it over here. All right, so the trick for braiding is to not start at one end. What's going to happen is it's going to get all funky, and you're not going to be able to tuck under the end the way you would like, and you're not going to have a nice finished end to it. What I do, I start around this point here, and I'm just going to start braiding. It's a simple braid, just 3 strands. I'm just going to braid it down to this side. If you want it a little bit longer, just kind of lightly pull down on your strands here until you reach the end, and then you'll push them together and kind of tuck them under. Then you do the same with this side. All right? And you're going to do the same exact thing. But if you try to start at one end, somehow it just doesn't quite work. I've tried multiple times and I can never get it quite right. So then I pinch these together and tuck it under. And then I like to kind of stretch it out a little bit, just a little, because it will puff up when it does its rise. All right, I'm going to do the other one now. All right, and if you have any larger areas that kind of bubbled up and have too much dough, you can redistribute it by pulling and stretching it out a little. I'm going to cover this up, let it sit for about an hour to rise, to prove, I should say, and then we can put it in. All right, the oven is preheated to 350. I have some melted butter here. You don't have to do this, but I like to be able to get a nice color on it and to have contrast with the glaze. This is just butter melted. I'm going to brush it on. Make sure you get underneath here on the sides. We want to be careful to not deflate it. I'm just doing it nice and lightly. And I'm going to finish both of these and then put it in the oven for about 25 minutes or so. And then we can do our glaze and our taste test. While that's baking, I'm going to make the glaze. It's just powdered sugar and eggnog. I'm going to grab a spoon. I'm going to start with putting a little bit of eggnog in, because that'll make it so it doesn't get dry and clumpy on the bottom. And start putting this in here. We love the glaze around here. Oh, I don't actually go with amounts on this too much. Just kind of do it until it fills up a container. Like keeping it in a mason jar, and then we can drizzle it over when we're ready to eat it. Or we can dunk. Or we can spoon it over. There's a lot of options. All right, I'm going to add some more of this now. Little by little, you don't want it too liquidy. And you'll notice it shrinks down a lot once that powdered sugar hits the liquid. For me, I like doing it kind of like if you were making macarons, then you do the ribbon test and it falls off of the spoon nicely and then kind of melts back in after a few seconds. ribbons. And I'll mix this up more, but that's the idea. That's where I like it, because then it'll stick to the bread, but it still is kind of gooey and amazing. Okay, so the moment has come. It looks beautiful, very tender. So if you pick it up too roughly, it is going to fall apart. But you're not going to normally pick up bread like that. But if you were packaging these or putting them onto a tray, you would just want to be careful with it. But look at how beautiful that crumb is in there. And you have the speckling of the cranberries. I'm so excited for this. And it's nice and brown on the top because of that butter. And as long as you keep this in the glaze in a container that has a lid and keep air out of it, it's going to last for a long time. If you drizzle it on top of here and then let it sit, it's going to harden more, depending on the texture and consistency that you went for. All right, let me see. Do a drizzle. All right. Cheers. I've really been looking forward to this one. The cranberries, nice and tart. The bread is so sweet. The eggnog glaze brings all of the flavors together. And if you toast this and then put the eggnog glaze on, you'll have a nice contrast of temperature. Or some people I've given it to have also cut slices of this and then spread this on top and then broiled it, and it gets the sugar all caramelized and amazing. I have tried it like that too. This is definitely a go-to for us during the holiday season. Yeah, most of December we have a loaf of this, and we do Christmas gifts with these a lot. They're just wonderful, and they're pretty because they're braided. They're delicious. It's great to be able to put out on Christmas morning, or if you celebrate other holidays, any celebration, anytime you have family over, or if you just want a special morning with the kids. And um, definitely give it a try if you like eggnog. It's wonderful. Thank you for joining me this week, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Please like, subscribe, follow, and check out the website, toasttime.fun. And I will see you next toast time.